Rory, how are you doing? How are
I'm
things
doing
going
good,
there?
Mac. What about yourself?
Yeah, I am. I'm okay. I will. We'll just say I'm okay for today, and we'll see how things go, and go from there. Well, welcome everyone. This is. I like this particular topic for CodeRush. It's a nice vertical slice right through the product. There are a lot of features that exploit and take advantage of the clipboard and also selections. And it's kind of nice to group them together as well, because in order to get something on the clipboard, you need a selection. And so, with that, let's dive right in. I have two console applications here, one in VB and one in C# with some code in them. And let's start off with probably one of my favorite features. It's a real simple one, but it's smart copy, and it's the ability for me to take something that I want to work with, like for example leading radians, and copy it to the clipboard. And I can do that just by hitting the copy key, Control C or Control Insert, and CodeRush will select that automatically for me there. And so there you've seen the selection uh, just occur, and then now I can go somewhere else and I can now paste that. So that's useful if you've got a long identifier and you don't want to type it in and it's nearby. You can just copy to the clipboard, come down, and paste. So that's it. All I'm doing is I'm hitting just Control, whoops, got caps lock on, Control C or Control plus Insert, just the normal keys that you would press when you just smart copy. And that works on an identifier, but it also works, for example, here on a type, or if I put it here, like at the beginning of the method, it'll work on the whole entire method, and it'll grab that. Or, for example, if I have a block of code in here, like for example, I have a try finally block, I come in here, hit the copy key, it will grab that entire try finally block. So that is smart copy, and then smart cut is just like smart copy, except for it cuts it to the clipboard. So, for example, if I want to cut this method to the clipboard, or maybe this entire class, I just hit Control X or Shift Delete, and now it's on the clipboard. And now I can move to a new location and paste it wherever I want to. So that's useful if you want to move a method, for example, or a try finally block, something along those lines. So you've got smart copy, and then you also have smart cut as well. And that's going to be just Control X or Shift Delete. With regards to selections, one of my next favorite selection tool is selection increase. And that allows me to increase the selection by logical blocks. So for example, if the caret starts here on pivot Y and I hit the selection increase key, it'll grab that expression right there, pivot.y. If I press it again, it'll grab the larger expression, which is Control Y minus pivot Y. One more time, I'm getting all the parameters to the method. Another time I get this expression. One more time the expression's wider. Now I'm on the statement, and now I get all the sibling statements within the method. I'll close this down so we can see more code. Another time, and now I've got the whole method. One more time I have all the sibling methods, and again I'm out to the class and finally the namespace. I can go backwards as well. So let me tell you what those keys are for selection increase. So selection increase actually has a couple keys that you can use. My favorite is num plus to increase the selection. But in addition to num plus, there is also Control W plus W. And think about that. The mnemonic there is widen the selection. W for widen. And then the opposite of that, selection decrease, is num minus and Control plus Shift plus W. These are defaults, and this is there we go. Oops. Okay, so that's selection increase and selection decrease. I think there's one other binding for this as well, and I'm not remembering exactly, but I think it's
Off the
around
top of my head, Mark, it's Control plus. I think it's the plus on the equals.
Yeah, I think it's something along those lines. No, that was just the plus, but I think it's Control Alt plus that. Yeah.
Nice.
So Control Alt and the plus key that's above the equals will give you selection increase, and Control Alt plus the minus key will do the reverse of that. One thing that's important to know is selection decrease works once you've used selection increase. It just goes backwards through that stack of selections. Okay? And so you can't like start here and then start hitting num minus, nothing will happen because you didn't increase the selection. But what's cool about this, because we have a reverse on this, is if, let's say I want to refactor something, like let's say down here I want to refactor this expression in parens, I can hit selection increase until I get, maybe overshoot it, and then go backwards until I get just the piece that I want to get. Okay? So that's selection increase. Another great selection tool has to do with camel case navigation. So, for example, here I have this method called getAngle and distance. And if I take this and extract it, I haven't tried this yet as a demo. Let's see what happens. Oh, it's already smart enough to call it getAngle. So let's do something different instead. Let's take that and get a name that's not so good. All right. So we'll extract this out to here. And let's say we wanted to come in and maybe take angle and, or actually, well, let's say the pivot point is going to be the origin. So what we do is we would take that off of there and come down in here and say pivot point is equal to new point f0, 0. So we're just creating like an alternate method for this. But now we're here and we want to take out this word extracted that's here for us. So I'm using camel case nav right now, which is just alt and left right arrows. That's camel case nav. But if I hold the shift key down, I can actually select and then remove a portion of it like that. Hit angle and the distance. Okay. So alt shift and the left and right arrow keys will allow me to select a portion of what I'm interested in. Okay.
So these operations, Mark, they work on the natural word boundaries within an identifier, within its name.
If I understand you correctly, when you say natural word boundaries, I think the answer is yes to that. Basically, it's looking for the transition between lowercase and uppercase letters.
Indeed.
Right. Yeah. So Alt Shift left and Alt Shift right get you camel case selection. Now, related to this, let's say we want to do a rename, and we want to rename maybe just this part of the identifier, get angle and distance. We want to rename this to get angle plus distance, for example. Okay. What's really cool about the rename refactoring is if we make a selection first, like we're doing here, and then we hit the F2 key to rename, it preserves the selection for us. And so now we can just type in the new piece right there, and then it's made the change. Now here we're not seeing it appear down at the bottom as well because these are two different signatures. Right, so we're not actually seeing the rename effective yet because it's only one instance of this. But let's see if we can give you a better example of this. Here we go, leading radians. So here, I'll select just the word leading, and I'll hit the F2 key, and we'll call this like starting radians or initial radians, something like that. Okay. So selecting before you rename, I find, is really powerful. It's in general you're like, oh, this is the thing I want to change, and then you realize, oh, there's several occurrences of this. Let's go ahead and make that change. So all right. So let's do this. I just realized we didn't extract method. Then we actually ripped out the pivot manually instead of refactoring it out. I'm just going to change this, and this actually gives us the that piece right there where we can do that plus demo right there. So get angle plus demo distance. Okay. All right. So so you've seen selection increase, you've seen smart copy, smart cut, and camel case selection. The next thing that is kind of interesting is paste replace. And paste replace replaces the identifier at the caret with the identifier that's on the clipboard. So sometimes you might have some code that you want to change around, and I don't have a good example of that code here, but sometimes you might have some code where you want to change the identifier everywhere to use a different identifier, for example. So let's maybe do something like this. We'll create something that approximates this. Call the cylinder volume 2, and we'll create a new, whoops, not a double, I want to do a decimal. Call it other radius, like this. And then what I'll do is I'll take other radius, I'll copy it to the clipboard, and we'll just give it a something like that. I'll copy this to the clipboard, and so I just hit the copy key here, right? I don't need to select it at all. just hit the copy key, and CodeRush sees there's no selection, so we'll select it. And then I come down here and I press Control B to replace that, to do paste replace. And so it's just a quick way to replace the identifier with the clipboard. In fact, you can do something like this. You can combine this with searching and to find next. So I do a find for that. And then I hit find next, and everywhere I want to replace it, I hit Control B. Oops, I need to put other radius on the clipboard. It looks like I lost that. So Control B. Why isn't that working? Oh, because there was a selection. I see. So there we go. So there is some there's context that's going on here. So if there's a selection, Control B is not working. And I'll show you that. So in DevExpress options, we'll bring up the shortcuts page. So it's an IDE shortcuts. And if we click this button, it'll get rid of all of the folders for a moment. And then we can see here's Control B, and we can see what's going on here. It says using, if there's no selection in code editor, and this is the context that's allowing this to work. And we're not in debug mode, because in debug mode, Control B is used to set a breakpoint. And so if we're not in debug point, Control B will work, and then there's no selection. If you want to change that, you can come in down here into selection, and you can make a change to this so that it's no longer part of the context, and then that will work. Okay. All right. So so Control B is paste replace. We'll document that for you. Okay. So let's go over into, we'll come back actually into here in a second, but let's go over into this file I have called Intelligent Paste. And Intelligent Paste is a set of features in CodeRush that looks what's on the clipboard and converts that when you do a paste on it. So for example, here I have this check that says if parent is a Marshall by ref object, I can copy this to the clipboard. So I select it. I can use selection increase to get it, hit the copy key, come down here and paste it. And what happens is you get this error that says paste typecast plus new var. And this is what's happening. So basically it says if the parent is this, then we'll typecast it, okay? And put this on its own line, because parent is Marshall by ref object by itself doesn't make sense on an empty line all by itself. And so that is intelligent paste. Now, intelligent paste works like this. When a pattern is matched and we do a paste and we give you this, we actually paste the original first, okay? And then we paste over that with this. And the reason we do that is so that undo, if you hit it now, will then get you the original thing you just pasted. Okay, so we actually change the code twice, kind of secretly there. And the reason we do is in case you don't want intelligent paste, you can hit undo and get the original. Okay.
So this is typical CodeRush giving you help, but without necessarily getting rid of any previous functionality. So if you choose, you can revert to that.
Right. Exactly. Now, so I'll show you a few more of these, and I'll show you how to change these as well. So there's the undo again to get that back. Here I have random is equal to new random. Let's copy that to the clipboard, and I can come up here and I can paste it in. Now I should say that there are probably better, more preferred ways of doing this, but some of these features are older features, and since then we've developed newer, better features for doing some of these things. Like for example, the piece I just did, right, where I copied this initialization to the clipboard and I pasted it up here, right? That one, if I were to take that out and come back down over here, there's a feature already called declare field, which allows me to just do that instantly. And I'm right up there and I've declared the field. Okay. So that may be a feature you prefer, but there is this intelligent paste is there where it's looking for patterns. If it sees them, it will convert the pattern over. There's another pattern that it looks for. I'm not going to go out to HTML, but if I was in HTML, I could maybe find a color reference that looked something like this. Let's make it CC and then maybe 11 and BB, like that. And if I copied that to the clipboard from the other from the HTML file, I can come in here and paste it in, And what will happen is it'll give us this. You saw the arrow say paste color field from HTML. And so here I've got a declaration for color, and we can, let's add that. You reference system drawings, so that's good. But look at what CodeRush is doing here. It's doing that color swatch thing, and it's converted it over to color from ARGB. So this is a very cool use of intelligent paste if you have colors on the clipboard from HTML, like pound sign, and then those digits.
And that wouldn't need to have been copied necessarily from CodeRush or from Studio even. You could have been in Blend and copied that, or you could have been in your own personal preferred web development tool, and it would have worked just as well. It would have pasted that in, replaced it with proper C#, and you're away.
That is correct, Rory. Yeah, you can do that in Notepad. Okay, I'll show you a few more of these intelligence pastes that I like a lot. So let's say you have this, myInt equals 0, and you want to have, you have some code here. And a little later on, you want to check to see if myInt is equal to 0. Well, if it's copied to the clipboard like I just did, you can just type in if, paste it in, and then you get paste expression. So if you have an assignment and you put it inside parens, you'll get a paste expression. Likewise, if I have an expression, I copy that to the clipboard, I come down here and paste, I'll get this. Okay. I can also have something like this. If myInt is not equal to 0, come down and paste it in, myInt is equal to 0. Okay. I find this very useful, right? For a lot of times in code, you might want to do some sort of check like that. If myInt is greater than, like, for example, 1,000, you copy that to the clipboard. I just use selection increase, come down, paste, and there's your code. This is code that you write a lot, or that you sometimes will write this kind of code a lot. You'll encounter this. So I find that very useful. Okay. All right, and the last intelligent paste that I'll show up here is this one. If I were to select these fields right here, and copy those to the clipboard, I can then come down and paste them, and then it will generate all of these properties here with getters and setters with guard clauses in them, and then the assignment pieces on them. So that's kind of that's what I would call a pretty sophisticated intelligent paste. So let me show you how these are built. So I'm going to CodeRush or DevExpress options, and it's inside Editor, Clipboard, Intelligent Paste. And so these are the ones that we have that we're shipping with right now. And so one of the ones we saw was color field from HTML. And it says match with this. So there's a pound sign at the beginning, and then there's the next piece is this, hex 1 in percent symbols, followed by hex 2, followed by hex 3 in percent symbols. So here's what's going on. This is a regular expression. However, it's kind of an advanced regular expression. CodeRush has added the ability to create aliases for regular expressions, and they're actually inside core aliases over here, regular expressions and system. So if we were to go in here, we would go down and look at hex without, notice it doesn't have the number 1, 2, or 3 after it. Its value is hex followed by hex. And so we go up to hex, its value is 0 through 9, or A through F, or lowercase a through lowercase f. And there's some tests that are down here so you can see if you have this, what it will match with on the other side. But if I were to put something outside of that, like for example M, nothing matches over here on the other side where that M was. If I were to change that M to a lowercase a, you'd see it matching and showing up there. So this is kind of an advanced way of configuring CodeRush. So let's go back to the previous page we were on. And so you can see I've got hex, and the thing that's different is instead of just saying hex, we're actually putting a number at the end of that. And what this allows us to do, what CodeRush will do is it'll remember which of those 2 hex numbers matched with this first one. So when we reference it down here in the replacement, it'll grab just that piece. So it allows us to take those three pairs of digits and separate them with 0x here, comma 0x, and these pieces at the end, that sort of thing. Okay, so it's a little bit advanced in terms of setting the of setting things up. However, you can do some cool things with this. You can get some declarations just by copying and pasting, things like that. Okay. Any questions on that, Rory? Have you actually? I'm interested to know because Rory is like a kind of a power user. Have you gone to this page, explored this page? What is this?
I have
is
indeed.
This like,
I like this. This is a nice page. This gives you a bit of an ability to work with. I mean, as you say, it's regular expressions, but it's sugar-coated regular expressions. So you get to define the small piece, as you say in this case, hex, and now you don't need to worry about how that's defined. You can use that as kind of a building brick towards something more useful instead. And you can keep building and building and building as long as you like. You can build up, as you can see, quite complex expressions and features based on that. And you can really get some great functionality out of it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. You can. The other thing that's interesting is, like, for example, the one that does the created properties. You saw me do that. It goes from field identifiers. This one will work with multiple pieces on the line. So if you have several fields in a row, it'll create several properties for you. So it's an interesting way to perhaps generate code based on existing code. I find it is most useful in this scenario right in here. Like, if I have some expression here, I paste it here, or in this scenario here. I'll say the parent is this, then I'll come in and paste that down, create it. Oh, and then the third one I use almost all the time is this color one right here. Okay? All right, so next let's talk about templates. So we have some templates that work with what's on the clipboard. For example, let's create a let's do something a little bit interesting here. What can I do? Oh, let's do this. Let's create a new list of strings. So I'm going to use a template that just creates my new list. I'm going to copy this to the clipboard. And now I'm going to type in FE to get a for each statement. And the FE is one of the templates that work with what's on the clipboard. So I copied lists to the clipboard, and I typed in FE, and it gave me this, for each string item in the list. Let's come down here, and we'll just note that we use the FE template there. Let's take item and copy it to the clipboard. And let's come down here, and we'll type in S quote and hit the space bar. And now we have just set item equal to an empty string. I think we can also do SE for set string.empty as well. Or we might want to set item to null. So SN like that, for example. Item is to null. And these are all working with what's on the clipboard. So let's type, let me put some of these in here. S quote, SSE for S string.empty. There's also, if we've got working with Booleans, so let's create a new Boolean called started, copy it to the clipboard, come down here, type in ST for set to true, type in SF for set to false, comma in SF. Okay. We also have, if you have, for example, a control, I'm pretty sure I don't have the right namespace on here yet, but if you have, let's see if we can get that namespace. No, it's not going to do that. Let's just do this. Let's say, pretend we have a control and it's got properties like visible, enabled, those kinds of things. There are also more templates for working with controls. So, for example, if you want to set the visible to false, type in set visible to false like that, SVF. Set visible to true, SVT, like that. Set enabled to true, SET, like that. Set enabled to false, as well. And you can also just type in SV to set visible. So we have some templates that work with that. Let me show you what those templates look like. I'll go ahead and so set enable to true, set enable to false, set visible to true, set visible to false, like that. Let's look at those templates. So
we have one for set null as well, Mark. That's not obviously a visible issue, but there's
we do, yeah.
The CodeRush training window, which is also quite useful in these occasions.
Yeah, so SN is hold on, let me do something. Let me do these up here so we can see these. SN is there. Oh yeah, so I got SN. Is that the one you're talking about right there? The SN that I just said?
The one, Mark. Sorry, I appreciate that probably doesn't apply to visible and enabled, but worth knowing.
I'm sorry. What? I didn't hear you, Rory. Can you say that again, please?
I was just saying I appreciate how it doesn't apply to the visible and enabled track that you're just going off on there, but it's still another one that is quite useful.
Yes, yeah. So SN, I use that a lot. So here's what's cool, right? We have a very fast way to copy things to the clipboard, and we have a way to reference those inside of the template. So we go into DevExpress options, and now we're going to go into the templates page. It's an editor down here near the bottom, templates. And we're in a section called Setting Values. And the comment here is templates is category, all begin with letter S and work with an identifier copied to the clipboard. And so these are the templates you can see, S0, S1. These are also real handy. I use these a lot. What else do I use a lot? Some of these are older to be compatible with version of CodeRush that came before .NET. So for folks who are used to those templates, S-1. Interesting border style, back color, things like that. Oh, this one, SBT. This is kind of an unknown one that is not, we don't talk about a lot. But let's say we've got started and we want to toggle it to the opposite. Set Boolean toggle, SBT like that, gives you that, the opposite of it. I find this is very useful as well. I bet you have not seen that one yet, Rory. Have you used that one?
That particular one, no, I haven't. That's,
okay.
that's
so
pretty
there
good.
You learn something for you. That's my goal, Rory, is to get you something you haven't seen yet. So, okay, yeah. So set Boolean toggle is in there, and you can just go through these. We saw set enabled to true. We've seen those SNN. Oh, this one I use sometimes too. So SNN is not really useful here, but it's totally useful here. Because here's what's going on. These same templates, right? So we've seen, you just saw all these S templates work on an empty line for an assignment, right? But let's go inside of an expression instead. Okay, so we'll say if, and we'll use the same ones again. And so I'm going to copy control to the clipboard. I'm going to come down here and say SCT for set enabled to true. And what happens is, right, you can see it. It changes it, right? Up here, the template expands this way, right? So it's got just a single equal sign and a semicolon at the end. Here, set enabled to true, does this. And what's cool about this is that if you're in an expression and you essentially want the same two pieces on either side of the comparison operator, you don't have to remember a different mnemonic. Right? It's a little bit of a mind twist because you're not really setting anything here. But the cool thing is all those templates you already have learned that begin with the letter S for setting things, you can now use here. And that's where that so SN checks to see if control is equal to null, but SNN does that. Control is not equal to null. So we put that SNN template in there so that you could be consistent with this other alternate usage of the S templates.
So it's not so much actually executing a set as it is testing, is it set to this value,
exactly.
Or is it not set?
Exactly.
That is very useful.
Exactly. And the thing is, Rory, is when we saw how similar these were, we really were thinking, it just doesn't feel right to add another letter that you have to remember, since they're so similar in terms of what they're doing.
That's also quite useful in C#, certainly for people who are not as used to using it, like myself, VB.NET programmer. If I was to be writing an if statement there, testing something, there's every possibility I might just have a single equals key for testing something if I was writing it manually. If I'm using this, then it's going to use the double equals, the comparison operator, so that I don't make that mistake.
Right. So yes, exactly. There's value there. So something else that I'll show you here is if you take something you're interested in, for example, paste, like this, and copy that to the clipboard, and you put it in here in the search. Oops. Let's try that again. And then you hit this button to find text inside templates. You can find all the templates that use that piece that you're looking for. And the reason, what I want to do is I want to get out of these setting values, and I just want to look at what other ones that are out there that are interesting here. Change file extension. Oh, you know the ones I'm really that are that
I know
I
we've
just
got
really,
some, Mark, that the standard ones, the method of type string, method of this, property of that, those all work with paste as well. So the backslash.
Oh,
So
right,
M
exactly.
backslash.
The backslash for sure. I have to talk about the backslash. The other thing I was thinking of was the typecast pieces, the pieces that cast type, and I wanted to see those. That, for example, if I type in here, I know what the let's go in here. Let's type in like a C, D, E, for example, like that to get a C type right here. So this will actually do a oops. Hold on, not that. I need the alternate version of this. Abstract class with constructor. What I need is, there it is right here. It's this one. So wait, is that one? No, I want the typecast one. You know what? Let's just expand it, and then we'll get it to be there. So if I have a piece that I am, if I have something and I want to typecast it to something else. So I think we had some code that was like that. Here we go. So I have parent and I want to typecast it to Marshall by ref object. So I copy, or let's do this. Let's declare right now parent is declared as an object. We'll go ahead and do this. We'll do that, and we'll say. So I type in C. Let me do this. I'm going to get the training window up here so that you can see this. Okay. So here's the typecast piece. And we'll pick something from here in the list that we'll typecast it to. So the idea is I have parent and I want to typecast it to something else. So inside the code, I type in C for cast, and then over here I'm going to follow that up with the piece that I want to typecast it to. So for example, I might say let's typecast it to a color, for example. So we'll type in CL. So CCL like that, and what it's going to do is color, this new variable is equal to the piece that's on the clipboard as color. So that's an example of typecasting. So I put the piece I want to typecast, I come down and I type in C followed by something that I want to typecast it as. So let's do it as a, what else is interesting in here? Gregorian calendar, let's do that. So CEGC like that. So you can see that. Okay. So gives us a good name, and then there's the piece that it pastes in. So the C templates also use what's on the clipboard. Okay. Okay. For example, CGC gives me this. Okay, so speaking of templates and using the clipboard, let's copy intelligent paste to the clipboard. Let's come up here and create a descendant of intelligent paste. So I want to create a class. I'll type in C for class. And then if I use the backslash here, I can get, it'll paste what's on the clipboard. So I'll just hit the backslash, and then now we have a descendant of intelligent paste. Because I copied, that all started because I copied intelligent paste to the clipboard. Okay? So there are a lot of templates that make use of what is on the clipboard. If I want a method that returns what's on the clipboard, I type in M and then the backslash again, and I will get that method that returns, and then it'll paste what's on the clipboard. Okay, so that's what Rory was talking about when he was talking about the methods and the property templates, things like that. If I want a property of that type, then I just do that again, P followed by the backslash, and it will give that to me. Okay, another way to use what's on the clipboard. Let's say we want to create our own new template that makes use of what's on the clipboard. Let's do that real quickly. And we'll come down here in the miscellaneous section. We'll create a new template, and I'll call this ZZZ. And I'll click OK, and I'll put a comment that says the clipboard contains this. If I want to paste it in, I'll go to that location where I want to paste it, and I'll just click this button right here, insert the clipboard paste command, and we get that command. Click OK. that. And now we can make use of that. So we type in ZZZ space, and it has, that's what's on the clipboard, the word intelligent paste. Okay, so that's how you can use the clipboard inside of your templates. Next, let's show the clipboard history. So all these times I've been copying things to the clipboard, CodeRush has been watching that, and it keeps a history for you. If I hit Control-Shift-Insert, let me just write that down here, Control+Shift+Insert, that will bring up the clipboard history. And one of the cool things about the clipboard history is we are shipping full source code to this. A couple things going on that are cool. One is it's syntax highlighted, right? So if I expand this out, it says hold the control key to maximize code view. If I hold down the control key, you'll see that there's the syntax highlighting for that block of code. Everything else is just a single identifier, so you're seeing it without any color coding on there. One of the things that's interesting right here is paste is showing up in a different font. That's because it was not copied from inside the editor. So things that were not copied from the editor are showing up in a slightly different font. So you can see that they came from another location. Let's copy more code so you can see some more of that syntax highlighting. Let's copy the whole class to the clipboard, bring that up again. Now if I want to see it, I can hold the control key down there. There I can see more of that class. And scroll down and see that with you. So that's what's on the clipboard. If I want to paste something in, here, let's go back in and we'll select something. Let's copy this to the clipboard. Let's select that, and now I can paste over that selection just by highlighting the piece I want and then hitting Enter, and then it now replaces it. There's my undo. Okay, or coming in here to a new place and pasting it in. So that is the clipboard history. A couple configuration notes on that. If I right-click this and choose Options. Oh, one other thing that's interesting is toggle status bar visibility. You turn that off, you just get a little more room. So you might want to do that. The status bar just gives you some discoverability on how to use it. If we go into Options, notice there are 9 clipboard fields by default. But what you can do is you can actually crank this up to having up to 64, a history of your last 64 clipboard operations. There's also an option to persist clipboard history across Visual Studio sessions, but this is off by default. If that's a feature you want, you can turn that on if you like. So you have control over the clipboard history here. You can, for example, here we've made a 4x5 grid, and now when we go into it, there you can see there's the clipboard history and what it looks like there. Okay, so that is the clipboard history. All right. One other thing with regard to the clipboard history that's kind of cool is you can come in, for example, and let's take this and we'll copy this to clipboard. So right, we don't need to select. We just hit the copy key. I'm inside here. I've got some VB code. We'll come over here into C#, and where we want to put this is maybe here. Put the method there, and then I'll bring up the clipboard history, and I'll hit the control key down there. You can see there's the VB code. If I right-click it, you can see I can paste it as C#. If I do that, it'll do a conversion. Notice the conversion isn't perfect. For example, the type here is integer, and that needs to be like int, for example, to live well in C# land or 32. But it's not perfect. But it is a start in the right direction. So if you do need to convert code from VB to C# or C# to VB, or from any language that we support to any other language we support, you can do that with the clipboard history. One other thing that's interesting about the clipboard history is we are shipping full source code to this. It was actually based on a series of blog posts that I created showing how to extend Visual Studio and create plugins for Visual Studio. So it is, the full source code is available for this particular plugin. And the last thing that I say this, tentatively, because it's not always the last thing, but this may be the second to the last thing I'm going to show. But there's also access to the clipboard can also be used for refactoring, for an entry point for refactoring. So, for example, if I take this code right here, that's I guess more interesting. So if I were to take this code right here, hold on. Yeah, I like it better when this is a, let's promote this to a parameter. And then let's remove the parameter so it is, whoops. Oh, is it, I wonder, is my code not, let me try that one more time. Promote to parameter. Okay, there we go. I think the code was just in a, okay, so I've got pivot here. Let me do reorder parameters on this. Move this over to back to where it was, right there. And we'll change this and remove unused parameter here. This is kind of what I really want it to be like. Okay, all right, so let's take this code right here and we will cut it to the clipboard. So the idea is it's an entry point to refactorings, and so a number of refactorings are about moving code. So two of the refactorings we have that are about moving code. One is extract method, the other is introduce local. Have the clipboard as an entry point. So what I can do is I can take the code I want to move and I can cut it to the clipboard, like this block of code right here. And then I can come up on an empty line inside of the class and paste it. What will happen is this, and you see extract method intelligent paste, that arrow comes up, and what it's done is it's gone to the cut point, which is right there, and it's inserted this line of code, getAngle. It's created a new method called it getAngle. The reason it called it, named it getAngle, is because the only variable that was changed in that block was angle, and it was being used outside of that. It was being actually output. So it's created that line of code. Okay? So that is cool. I can do the same thing here, select distance, copy and cut it to the clipboard rather, paste it where I want it to be, and now I have the method called getDistance. Right? Pretty cool stuff. So you can use the clipboard to do an extract method. Cut something to the clipboard and then paste it. I'm just noticing I kind of want to clean this up. I have this temporary variable here. I can just come in here like this and I can do an inline temp on this right here and just get it into a single line of code there. And same thing with getAngle. I can probably clean that up as well a bit. Yeah, at least right here at the return point, I can do an inline temp there. Okay. All right. So the other refactoring entry point is for expressions. So if I have this expression and I want to introduce a local on that, I can cut that to the clipboard, come up to an empty line, and paste it. It'll give me this. So this trick of cutting to the clipboard and pasting on an empty line works as long as you don't make any edits between the cut operation and the paste operation. Okay. Notice also the nice naming here it gave it. It suggested delta Y for us here, and you can see the naming heuristics that are at work here. If I were to take this other expression, use selection increase, cut to the clipboard, come up here and paste it, it's going to call it delta X. Okay, cool stuff.
One of the nice things about that, Mark, is that it's using techniques you're already familiar with, the cut and the paste, the things you'd normally do anyway. You don't have to have that extra level of discoverability. You say, well, I want to cut this piece and I'm going to want to do something with it up here. And you might normally have cut the expression and pasted it there prior to putting the the declaration and assignment on the left-hand side of it. But you don't have to do that now because CodeRush is one step ahead of you and it knows exactly what you were planning on doing.
Yeah, I think it's potentially useful, right? With anything we're showing you here today, it's ultimately up to you, the developer, to decide whether you like that feature or not. Some of these things, when I show the copy and paste on the fields, and it generates all these properties, sometimes that makes people nervous when I show that one. So I don't show that one too often, actually. But so if it's not for you, you of course don't have to do it, right? And the other thing too is that all of these things I'm showing are configurable. So if you want to make a change to the behavior, there's access points to do it that you've seen here in the video on the options pages that I brought up here. Let's see here. I wanted to see if we had. I was looking for. Let's come back over here. See, there it is, DX Core. So I wanted to add a plugin to this and just show you one more thing because I wanted to show you some of the events, just explore around those events. So if you ever were to create an extension to Visual Studio through the DX Core, which is essentially what CodeRush is built from, it's a whole bunch of plugins. You would do it either in the way you just saw me, or from the DevExpress menu, you would choose New Plugin, right? When you do that, you get a design surface, and if we bring up the Properties grid for the design surface, let me bring that up. I'm totally not seeing this here. Why, there it is down there at the bottom. Slightly different font. Okay. All right. So we bring this up, the properties here. Let me put this over here on the other side. Looks like since we just changed the project substantially, or the solution substantially, it feels something like Visual Studio is doing some things here to understand what's going on. So not much exciting is happening on the properties side of things. But over on the events side of things, things are a little more interesting. And one of the events that we have access to is clipboard change. So curious when data is cut or copied to the clipboard, we can double click and handle that event. So if you want to plug in that response to when the clipboard changes, you can do that. And in your event args, you've got a details piece that comes into you. And inside there, you have a number of cool things available to you. For example, this property, like, is it from the IDE? What has source as well, which tells you if the source code is on the clipboard. And what else was interesting in here? Oh, the operation tells you if it is a cut or copy, what put it there. So you have a lot of access. Oh, best guess type, I like this as well. So if in fact, I almost want to say let's run this so that you can see. But what's really cool about this is if you copy, for example, an expression to the clipboard or an identifier to the clipboard, what will happen is CodeRush will tell you what type it thinks it is, if it can. So that type is going to show up here as a string, which is sometimes useful to you. And which reminds me, and so I said one last thing, right? There's a piece I didn't show inside here that's related to the clipboard. So it occurs on templates and intelligent paste, any place where the context picker exists. And it's this section of the context. So context essentially decides when a feature is okay to execute, right? So our ZZZ template did not have any context. What I could do is I could say, well, you know what? If the clipboard enumerable type is of object, I could say, yeah, it's got to be there. Or I could say, if the clipboard has to have an array type, and this will expand. Or the clipboard has to have a Boolean, for example. So I can set that context. So let's do this, for example. Let's see if anyone will watch this. So now I've set the context to has Boolean. And so now, if I type in like an integer right here, my int, and I copy this to the clipboard, and I come out here and type in ZZZ space, nothing happens. Okay? But if I create a new variable called myBool, I copy this to the clipboard, I come down here and I type in ZZZ, we should see an expansion. And there you see it. Okay? So that's another aspect of using the clipboard. You can actually check to see what is on the clipboard and have that be a context that determines whether other features will fire off or not. And you know what, Rory, I said last thing, and check that out. I forgot to talk about embedding and inversion. So let's show embedding and inversion, for goodness sakes, and then we'll get out of here. Actually, I think I hit the cancel page. This. All right, let's bring it up one more time so you can see that page. All right, so embedding. So these are all the embeddings, the selection embeddings that are defined here. And so you can see by their names what they're likely to do. And they're embeddings for different languages. For example, if we, now I haven't opened up an HTML file yet, but if I were to do that, we would see embeddings there as well. At least not in this virtual PC session that I'm running right here. So these are the embeddings, and they work. They allow you to take some code and embed it in something else. For example, I can take that block of code there, and I can right-click it, choose Embed Selection, and I can pick one of these pieces, like a comment box, for example. It'll put that in this nice little comment box. So let's look at that and see how the embeddings are built. Yeah, I totally missed two big ones, Rory. I can't believe I went to plugin building before.
These are two of my favorites, actually. I really like these.
These features?
Yeah.
The inversion and the embeddings? Okay.
Especially
so,
the embeddings. Very good.
Yeah, the embeddings we use a lot. So here's what's going on. First of all, you can choose a style. So there are different styles. There's surround selection. There's top and bottom. So we just put something on the top and bottom. There's something left and right where we just put pieces on the left and right. There's also, we've got something where we have put unique text at the beginning, unique text at the end, and then pieces at left and right as well. And then we also have something where we just put something at the beginning and end without necessarily, regardless of whether it's got multiple lines or not. So the one that I selected first was comment box, and it starts like this. So it says basically here, put these characters at the very beginning, like this, and this at the end. It uses this string function called repeat, which I don't know if you've seen, Rory. Have you explored this? I think repeat is only used here in the product once.
I don't think I've ever seen that before.
So what does it do? It generates a line as long as the longest selected code line. So I've got a string function here that tells me how long the longest selected code line is out of the selection, and gives me this big. And that's why it matches the box. That's how the box works. And then I do the same thing at the end as well. It's a beautiful example of CodeRush extensibility because this is an extensible piece, this is an extensible piece, and then the whole feature is extensible as well, right? Everything. There's 3 different plugins that are contributing to this functionality working. There are also options here on where to place the left text, where to place the right text, how to align it, that sort of things. Also whether you want to indent the selection and whether you want empty lines to be modified as well. Right? So if you have empty lines, they have this piece on either side. So you can do some cool things. Another one that's cool in here is toString. So toString calls a text command called escape quotes, which looks for the selection and escapes its quotes. And then it goes and puts this piece around it. So for example, if I have some text here that says, let me put it inside a comment. So it says, hello there, my friend, like this. I am happy about CodeRush. And I'm not spelling things correctly, but you're getting a sense of, if we have some string here, let's get rid of this piece at the beginning. And I just typed it inside the comment because I didn't want IntelliSense to do anything to me. So let's say we've got that inside of Visual Studio. We can now embed that in that toString. Another way to get to the embeddings, by the way, is to hit the CodeRush refactor key, and then you'll have this embed selection piece down in here, and then we can select toString. And what will happen is it will give us this instead. So notice it's escaped out my friend, the quotes that were around my friend. Okay? Did I have a quote at the end? No. What is the? Looks like I had an odd quote there at the end. Let's do it one more time to make sure. I think maybe it will. Let's see what happens with toString. So that looks like it's incorrect. That last one looks like it's wrong to me. Why didn't they quote the last one? That's interesting to me. We'll have to take a look at that. I'll have the devs look at that and see what's going on. Maybe a demo bug or something going on there. But we'll look at that. So those are the selection embeddings. You also have more general purpose selection embeddings you do more frequently. Things like embed inside of a try finally block, for example, or a try catch block. So, for example, I can come in here and I can grab, I'm inside VB code right now, and I can do a selection increase here to get the block I'm interested in working with, and then I can just hit the letter, here we go, bring up the CodeRush training window, hit the letter F to wrap it in a try finally block. So we'll hit the letter F, And there you can see it's in a, now a try finally block like that. Or I can take that selection, use selection increase again, hit the letter C to put it in a try catch, or a lock, or a using statement, or a wait cursor which puts an hourglass around that block of code. So those things are kind of cool. The other one we talked about is selection inversion. And so there are a few selection inversions that are out there. Let's say we had, I'm going to have to write some code to make this kind of work here, but let's say we do, let's say we have some code that says, let's do this, AAA and BBB, and just two more here, CCC and DDD. Let's say we had some code down here that said AAA equals BBB and CCC equals DDD, like that. All right? And we wanted to swap those around. We could select those and choose invert selection, and it will then swap the left and right sides of that. Or we might have something like this, where we say started just like that, and another Boolean finished like that, and then we'll set both of those equal to started equals, so that equals false, and we'll say finished is also equal to false, so equals F is giving me the false right there. And then now if I were to copy that and paste that somewhere else, and select it, I could then invert that selection. So it just swaps the, so selection inversion will swap left and right unless the right side is false or true, in which case it will just swap it from false to true. So that you might find useful in some of the things you do. And I think that's about it, Rory. I think that's close to exhausting just about everything I know.
You say that's it. There's been a lot there.
Sure, there is a lot there, and there's actually one more I'm not talking about. But basically, the essence is that when working with selections and refactoring, there's a lot of things that we can do in terms of working refactoring a selection. So, you know, as an example, one of the things that's on my mind is if I wanted to go from this line of code and get the 90-degree rotation of that, I would select this like this, and oh, come on, give me rotate 90 degrees. So rotate 90 degrees is not available there. Why not? Let me see what I can do to make this available for me here. Is it just because of the declaration? I'm wondering what that is. Let me change this to X and see if I can do it. I know it works on much larger pieces of code. It's not available to me. I'm not sure what's going on with that. I mean, but basically there's the ability to rotate text, to rotate code. Let me see if I can get it here. Is it available? Not available.
Oh,
I need to look.
Is it possible it's disabled by default?
That's what I was thinking. It might be. It might.
I know you like that one,
I was thinking that too, Roy. But I don't know where the options page is for this. For the rotate 90 degrees. I need to think about this because this is a.
I know where that is. I think that's not a refactoring. It's a code provider.
It is, but it might be in the refactoring catalog. Is where I was thinking I would look for it.
There's a separate catalog on their code modification.
Oh, okay.
Could be.
All right, so let's see if it's disabled. So yeah, there we go. These are shut off by default because some people panic when they see them and see what they do. But I love what they do. All right, especially if you're working in two-dimensional code. So you write the idea is you write your code working in one dimension first, and then there you go. That's what I was looking for. Exactly. Thank you so much, Rory, for getting me out of that one. All right. So now I can take that. I can rotate it 90 degrees. And what it does is it turns x's to y's, top to left, bottom to right, horizontal to vertical, column to row, things like that, back and forth. So if you have code that's working in one direction, you can then make it work in the other direction just by selecting it and choosing rotate 90 degrees. So that one is one of the ones that was on my mind. The other one is mirror code. So mirror code will take the code and have it work the reflective way. So pluses will go to minuses, and right will go to left, top will go to bottom, things like that. So that's less useful, but then rotate 90 degrees. But for me, the compelling moment of using rotate 90 degrees was when I had written code that that looked at the controls on a form and figured out the correct tab order, assuming you wanted to do left to right kind of orientation of the controls. So your controls went left to right. But there's also another way of doing tab order, which is very common, which is top to bottom. So I'd written this giant block of code that did left to right analysis of positions and, you know, is this control within this row or not? And then I applied the rotate 90 degrees, and it totally worked for me, you know, without any changes to the code. Just ran it, and now all of a sudden I had functionality going down as well. I could now, the previous question is what that was, went along the lines of, is this control in this row? Now became logic that determined, is this control in this column, right? And figured out tab order for that. So anyway, that's it. So now I will stop talking. Rory, is there anything you want to add to this? Anything you think I've left out?
No, I think they've done pretty well there, Mark. That's gone right across the gambit. Got some clipboard stuff, some selection stuff, and of course, what to do when you've got yourself a selection. Right.
And I guess the other thing I should say is if you look over here in the CodeRush training window, things that we didn't demonstrate are here, right? If you look, oh, markers, I forgot to talk about markers. There's one more thing, okay? So here's this will be it. I promise this is the last thing. So here we go. We have a selection. We can drop a marker, Alt-Home to drop a marker, and now we notice it puts this little bracket around that selection where it was. Go somewhere else, work in the code, do whatever we want to do, make selections, navigate throughout. Once we're ready to go back, we hit escape to jump back to that, and it restores the selection for us. So markers can store selection. The other thing that you can do is you can do, say for example, I'm here, let's say I'm here, wait, hold on, let's take out this line of code. Let's say I'm here, and I want to take that line of code that I just copied to the clipboard, so I just hit copy on that selection, and I want to paste it where I was. I'm going to delete this. And normally you would jump back and paste, but if you hold the Shift key down, you can paste at the top marker. So I held the Shift key and hit escape, and it'll jump and paste in one move. Okay? So that's the other clipboard piece that I forgot to mention, is Shift escape will jump back and paste where it's at that marker. And now I'm done. Rory, Amanda, save us.
Stop. I don't see any questions, guys, so I think with that we'll wrap up this particular webinar. Mark, your next webinar is after the new year, right, on January 4th?
You know, I'm not sure if that's the case or not. I said I'm doing these every Tuesday at 12, but I have not looked at the schedule, so yeah, I may be here and no one else will be here next Tuesday at 12. So yeah, Tuesday at 12 Pacific time, in general, yes, unless there's like some holiday or crazy stuff going on.
Yeah, so there is no webinar next week, but after the new year, January 4th, you have navigation with CodeRush coming up.
Perfect, perfect. So we'll see you there. So yeah, I just want to point out, kids who are listening who made it all the way through this hour, that was an hour we spent on clipboard and selections only, right?
Yeah.
So you know, that gives you a sense of how big CodeRush is, right? We took a vertical slice through the product, but CodeRush is big, and there's a lot of potential for some really cool features to go into your toolbox. So yeah, stay with us. Stay with us every Tuesday at 12 o'clock Pacific time. We will slice across CodeRush and show you like everything we know.
Sounds good. And everybody, if you want to learn more about all DevExpress products, including CodeRush, we do have hundreds of product tutorials up on the DevExpress channel at tv.devexpress.com, including lots and lots of new 10.2 feature videos. And again, if you missed anything from this webinar or you want to review any previous webinars, visit us at tv.devexpress.com. Thanks, Mark. Thanks, Rory. Happy holidays to everybody. And thanks for joining us, and thank you for choosing DevExpress.